Hi, Year 12. For investigation number 3, we're going to be growing bacteria and then killing them with antibiotics. And what isn't included in your depth study booklet is how we actually get this bit here, the pure culture of bacteria. So I'm going to explain how you do that, and then you can do it in class. So you will be provided with 2 different subculture plates. One has E. coli on it and one has S. albus. Now, don't panic. These are permitted bacteria that are allowed in schools. They are bacteria that have a high dependency on the nutrient agar, and they don't have any plasmids which have disease-causing elements to them, so they are allowed in schools. And they have been grown and subcultured in a way that there's only a pure culture of that particular bacteria on the Petri dish. So you'll take these 2 Petri dishes, and there'll just be one of each of the dishes for the class, and you have to open them up, take off the parafilm or the tape so that the lid is ready to come off, but don't take it off just yet. And then you need to use a nichrome wire, which looks a bit like the loop that we've used, except it's just the wire without a loop. So it can be sterilized in the Bunsen burner. And you do that, and you lift up the agar plate to a 45-degree angle with the lid, and you just place the nichrome wire into one of the dots, one of the colonies, and you can just push it all the way through the colony into the agar plate and then withdraw it. So you're not scraping it off the agar plate, you're just placing the nichrome wire through a colony, and that means that the sides of the nichrome wire get completely coated in bacteria. You then close the lid of the plate, and with your nichrome wire that's now got bacteria smeared on it, you put that into a sterile tube of saline. So with the sterile tube of saline, you need to remove the lid, and when the lid is removed, you need to just quickly flame the edge of the glass vial in the Bunsen, and then you put your nichrome wire into the saline and give it a shake so that it kind of swizzle it around in the water so that the bacteria fall off. And then you take the nichrome wire out, put the lid back on the saline, and that's your pure culture ready to use in step 3. So now we've got to just sterilize the nichrome wire so that there are no bacteria hanging around, and inside that saline liquid is where you get to with step 3. So now you're just going to do a flooding technique like you did with water in the first experiment we did in the depth study. So you know how to do this. You get a fresh agar plate that you've labeled, and you lift the lid to a 45-degree angle, you pour in all the saline solution with the bacteria in it, and you flood or wibble it around until it covers all of the agar, and that's a flooding technique. So you can then tip off any excess into a beaker of disinfectant. It's important to use disinfectant because it's now covered in bacteria. And now we can add our antibiotic disc. So you lift up the lid, 45-degree angle again, using forceps that you have put a little bit of alcohol on and flamed to make sure they're sterile. You pick up your antibiotic disc, you move it across and drop it carefully onto the agar plate, making sure that each of the coloured edges, little coloured sort of satellite dishes, are touching the agar. So you'll see that when they touch the agar, because they get damp and the colour changes slightly. And once you're happy that the antibiotic disc is lying flat on your agar with all of the satellite pods touching the agar, then you are finished. You close up your agar plate and you seal it with tape or parafilm and leave it flat so that the bacteria flood can dry a little bit before you turn it upside down. The 2 controls for this experiment, so step number 8 there, are about one, making sure that the agar is sterile, so don't open the dish, just seal it. You just need one of those per class, and one has to be for each of the types of bacteria. So actually you'll do 3 controls in total. So one has nothing on it, one has S. albus on it, and one has E. coli on it, but you don't add antibiotic discs because we need to just check that those bacteria can grow even can grow before we kill them, if that makes sense. So that's our experiment today. You've got to set up your saline solution with pure bacteria in it. So you'd use different saline solution for the other bacterial culture, tip it into your agar plate, flood it, tip off the excess, add your antibiotic disc, check that it touches the surface, close it up, seal it, and prepare a blank control and 2 controls, one for each of the bacterial cultures, just to prove that they can grow.